2 boxes of tea. Do not smile with disbelief. There are some honest mandarins. There are even those who practice honesty with a certain delicacy. Listen to the following true account. Trin Dam Tone was a mandarin who refused all gifts, no matter of what nature. One day, a merchant, for whom he had done many favors, timidly begged him to accept 2 boxes of tea. The gift was modest and ritual. The mandarin at first refused, but the merchant, who did not dare to insist other than by a respectful silence, maintained such a sincere attitude that Trin Dam Tone departed from his principles in order not to offend the man. When the latter had left, the mandarin observed that the 2 boxes of tea were quite heavy. When opened, they were found to be filled with gold. What should the mandarin do now? He closed the boxes, sent for the merchant, and said, "I accepted your gift because I thought that we were out of tea in our house, but I was wrong. We have more tea than we can use. Therefore, although I appreciate your thoughtfulness, I must return your present." The jar of gold. There was once a poor farmer and his wife who led a very quiet life in the countryside. Every morning at sunup he would go to his field and plough until sundown. The father's father had done that before him, and there would probably be very little change in the life of his sons. The farmer thought neither of the past nor even of the future. For him, the important thing was simply the completion of each day's task within the allotted time. So he lived from day to day, unconcerned with the ambitions of other men. One morning, as he worked the soil, his foot struck something hard and unyielding. He scraped the dirt from around the object and found an earthen jar. It was heavy, and as he pried it open to see what it contained, many gold coins fell out. He replaced them carefully and again buried the jar at the place where he had found it. When the farmer returned home that evening, he told his wife about the discovery. She was at first elated, but when he told her that he had reburied the gold, she became angry. "Why didn't you bring the jar home?" she exclaimed. "It was a gift from heaven. Someone else will surely find it, and you will have lost it forever." The farmer was unconcerned. "If it really is a heavenly gift, no one will take it. If it is not heaven's gift, I don't want it," he replied. While the farmer and his wife were engaged in argument, 2 thieves lurking outside their hut overheard this conversation. They then hurried away to the spot which the farmer had described. They dug away at the soil, and there rested an earthen jar, just as he had said. The evil men took the jar to their lair, eager to divide the gold. But when the thieves opened the jar, they found that it contained a family of snakes, and not a single gold coin was to be seen. They were furious. They closed the jar and threw it away. On the following morning, The farmer returned to the field as usual and immediately discovered the open hole from which the jar had been removed. This did not disturb him, and he continued to work the field until sundown. On returning home, he mentioned to his wife that the jar was missing. "Of course," she said sarcastically. "Who except you would leave a jar of gold coins in an open field?" It so happened that the two thieves were again listening outside the hut. The mention of gold aroused the evil in them, and they now thought of revenging themselves on the poor farmer. They took the jar back to the field and buried it, hoping that the poisonous snakes would bite the unsuspecting man when he opened it again. On the third day, the farmer was surprised to see that the jar had been returned, but he did not touch it. That evening he told his wife of the strange happening. "One day you find a jar of gold, the next day you lose it, and now you tell me that you have found it again. What am I to believe?" she cried out in exasperation. Her husband assured her that he was speaking the truth. "Then go back to the field and bring the jar home. It must be a gift from heaven if it has been returned to the field." "No," replied the husband. "If it is a gift from heaven, it will be sent here without our help." The two thieves were listening again, and their desire for revenge was frightening to behold. They were certain that the farmer and his wife had made fools of them and intended to teach them a lesson. So they went to the field and brought the jar to the farmer's hut, placing it on his doorstep. Then they hid behind a growth of bamboo to see what would happen. Early next morning, the farmer made his customary preparations to leave for the field. As he opened the door, he saw the jar on the doorstep. He shouted for his wife, who came running. She picked up the jar, and gold coins fell from it in torrents. The two thieves realized that their plans had been thwarted by a higher power, and they stole away. The farmer and his wife were now wealthy. The woman dressed in fine clothes and assumed superior airs. But the advent of sudden wealth did not change the farmer in any way. He continued to labor at the tasks that life had assigned to him in the same way until the day of his death. The Little Statesman Lee. There was once a famous Vietnamese statesman whose name was Lee. He was very short of stature. In fact, he was so short that the top of his head was no higher than a man's waist. Statesman Lee was sent to China to settle a very important political problem with that nation. When the Emperor of China looked down from his dragon throne and saw this little man, he exclaimed, "Are the Vietnamese such little people?" Lee answered, "Sire, in Vietnam we have both little men and big men. Our ambassadors are chosen in accordance with the importance of the problem. As this is a small matter, they have sent me to negotiate. When there is a big problem between us, we will send a big man to speak with you." The Emperor of China pondered. If the Vietnamese consider this important probably only a small matter, they must indeed be a great and powerful people. So he lessened his demands, and the matter was settled there and then. How the tiger got its stripes. This story took place in prehistoric times, when animals still had the power of speech. A young farmer had just stopped ploughing his rice paddy. It was noon, and he sat down to eat his lunch in the shade of a banana tree near his land. Not far away, his water buffalo was grazing along the grass-covered dikes enclosing the rice fields. After the meal, the farmer reclined and observed the stout beast, which was chewing quietly. From time to time it would chase away the obnoxious flies with a vigorous swing of its massive head. Suddenly, the great beast became alarmed. The wind carried the odor of a dangerous animal. The buffalo rose to its feet and awaited the arrival of the enemy. With the speed of lightning, a tiger sprang into the clearing. "I have not come as an enemy," he said. "I only wish to have something explained. I have been watching you every day from the edge of the forest, and I've observed the strange spectacle of your common labor with the man. That man, that small and vertical being who has neither great strength nor sharp vision, nor even a keen sense of smell, has been able to keep you in bondage and work you for his profit. You are actually 10 times heavier than he, much stronger and more hardened to heavy labor. Yet he rules you. What is the source of his magic power?" "To tell the truth," said the buffalo, "I know nothing about all that. I only know that I shall never be freed of his power, for he has a talisman he calls wisdom." "I must ask him about that," said the tiger. "Because you see, if I could get this wisdom, I would have even greater power over the other animals. Instead of having to conceal myself and spring on them unawares, I could simply order them to remain motionless. I could choose from among all the animals that my women fancy the most delicious meats." "Well," replied the startled buffalo, "why don't you ask the farmer about his wisdom?" The tiger decided to approach the farmer. "Mr. Man," he said, "I am big, strong, and quick, but I want to be more. I have heard it said that you have something called wisdom, which makes it possible for you to rule over all the animals. Can you transfer this wisdom to me? It would be of great value to me in my daily search for food." "Unfortunately," replied the man, "I have left my wisdom at home. I never bring it with me to the fields. But if you like, I will go there for it." "May I accompany you?" asked the tiger, delighted with what he had heard. "No, you had better remain here," replied the farmer. "If the villagers see you with me, they may become alarmed and perhaps beat you to death. Wait here. I will find out what you need and return." And the farmer took a few steps as if to set off homeward, but then he turned around and with a wrinkled brow addressed the tiger. "I am somewhat disturbed by the possibility that during my absence you might be seized with the desire to eat my buffalo. I have great need of it in my daily work. Who would repay me for such a loss?" The tiger did not know what to say. The farmer continued, "If you consent, I will tie you to a tree. Then my mind will be free." The tiger wanted the mysterious wisdom very much, so much in fact that he was willing to agree to anything. He permitted the farmer to pass ropes around his body and to tie him to the trunk of a big tree. The farmer then went home and gathered a great armload of dry straw. He returned to the big tree and placed the straw under the tiger and set it on fire. "Behold my wisdom!" he shouted at his unfortunate victim as the flames encircled the tiger and burned him fiercely. The tiger roared so loudly that the neighboring trees trembled. He raged and pleaded, but the farmer would not untie him. Finally, the fire burned through the ropes, and he was able to free himself from cremation. He bounded away into the forest, howling with pain. In time his wounds healed, but he was never able to rid himself of the long black stripes of ropes which the flames had seared into his chest. And that's the stories for today.